Good luck, Harry Potter.
Well, cover me with eggs and flour and bake me for 40 minutes.
Hello, and welcome back. I'm Bav.
I'm Fluff.
And this is ScreenMasters, episode 3.
Oof, 3 in already.
I know, 3 already. You know, we're still here, we're still doing it, we're going to carry on. You can't stop us.
People are listening. People we actually know have listened to these.
That's very true, but the key words there are people we know.
True.
Have pity listened.
True.
But hey, as we said in I think it was the first episode or the second one, I will accept a pity listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite happy with a pity listen. That's all good. But welcome back, and today we are, for our main topic, going to be discussing the Dark Knight Trilogy of films by Christopher Nolan. But before we do that, we're just going to say hello and reacquaint ourselves, as it's been a couple of weeks since we have properly discussed all things. So, Fluff, how you doing?
I'm all right. Yeah, a little bit hoarse today.
Indeed.
But we shall plough through all the same. You know, it's fine. It's fine. Got plenty of water sat beside me, so I'll be fine.
I believe it comes out of taps as well, so if you run out of the bottle, I think we can get some more.
That's fine. I think we bought some Coke as well, so...
that's Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola,
Let's be clear.
Yeah, the bottled stuff, the good stuff. We figured
a
treat.
Glass bottles, no
a
less.
treat for...
Exactly.
For the session.
So, what you been watching? Have you seen anything good?
Yeah,
I think there's one thing we've both seen.
Yes,
good.
yeah. We'll cover that. We'll cover that straight off then, which was Spider-Man.
Indeed, the new Spider-Man Far From Home.
Spider-Man Far From Home, which we did sit down and watch together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a couple of weeks ago now.
And and Eva came with us as well.
Yes.
That was her
my
first
goddaughter,
live
your
one.
daughter. Yes.
That's the first one she's seen in the cinema, because we've been watching them all at home to catch up, so that she could... Oh, no, Endgame was the first one she saw in the cinema, actually. We got in time to watch Endgame. We caught up for Endgame, and then that was the first one she's seen with you and me. It was nice.
She was thoroughly enthralled, I think, just as much as we were.
I found that when she was watching them, though, some of them she had a lot of questions about, and how things worked and who people were, and alien races and stuff. And actually, Homecoming, when we got to it, the first one was she didn't ask any questions, and I just think it's because it's that much more relatable. Mm-hmm. Because he's just, in the first one particularly, he's just a kid in high school, trying to be a high school kid. Yep. And that very much carried through to this. Very
much.
He just wanted to go on his school field trip and tell the girl he liked.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was much better for me than Homecoming. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Homecoming very, very much, and I thought
I'd agree with
Tom
that.
Holland was very good in both. Most definitely. This just added a little spin. Again, even more pushing Spider-Man a little bit more out of his comfort zone, out of the city.
Yep, absolutely.
Bringing Nick Fury and such like people. We won't say too much. For
I
those of you who
still need to be careful about spoilers,
those of you who haven't seen the film, as always with a Marvel film, ensure you stick around for the end credits.
Yeah, more than
very,
ever.
Very much so in this case.
More than ever.
Very much so in this case. But yeah, I would say that Jake Gyllenhaal did quite well. Considering I'm not a huge Jake Gyllenhaal fan, I'll confess that. But he did a very good job of Mysterio. Again, as a comic book fan, you kind of see some of the parts of it coming anyway, but there was so much to enjoy in that film. So much to enjoy in that film. Cannot wait for it to hit the Blu-ray version that we won't pirate. We will certainly buy. And yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, same here. I very much enjoyed it. Again, we don't want to say too much, I guess, because spoilers, but the villain's one of the better ones for me.
Most definitely.
I liked that his motivations were a flip side of a coin that's explored in the film. Again, I'm trying not to say too much, but
the throwback to other films, the interactions of different characters from those films. So you're covering the Marvel
the nice
of the last 10 years and various characters there. Brilliant, absolutely.
Yeah, it was, and I've since learned as well. If this, I don't think this classifies as a spoiler. If it does, I'll cut it, but I don't think it does. The number plates in the film all reference key issues in Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
I noticed as we were watching it in the cinema for the first time. I noticed when a car pulled in, it said AS. The number plate was ASM, and then like 3 numbers. I was like, oh, I bet that's an important comic book from Amazing Spider-Man. And then I found the video online, and they are.
I'm sure
and
we have a
it's
certain friend who would know these by heart as well.
Exactly, but it's the origin issues of the four. The characters who the four elementals are based on.
I see.
And again, I don't want to say any more than that.
No.
And I probably shouldn't. But there are Easter eggs all over it.
Yes.
If you look for them.
Yes. So thoroughly enjoyed that. I think we will move on because otherwise we could sit here and probably talk about Spider-Man for the next 10-15 minutes.
Bad stuff.
So other films, Interstellar, which I borrowed off of you.
Indeed.
Hadn't watched in a while. As soon as we discussed Nolan last time, I was like, I haven't watched Interstellar in so long. And I really enjoyed it, I've got to say. It's one of those films where I'd only watched it once, and maybe twice after the fact when it came out. But the story is fantastic. The acting is. I mean, I'm not a huge Matthew McConaughey fan. I'm not going to say he's a lead for me, but the beautiful cinematography.
No, he's just Wally Pfister.
I mean,
Always.
come on! You look out at the stars and you just think it looks absolutely incredible. The ingrained bit a little bit later on. Again, I'm not going to say too much because for those of you who haven't seen Interstellar, by all means go and watch it. It's another Nolan film which you will thoroughly enjoy. But again, later on, where they go into the black hole and everything involved in that, just the intricate details, fantastic.
Yeah, it's based on the theories of Kip Thorne, I think it is, on what would happen when when you meet a black hole and go into a black hole. For me, it really, it made me cry because of the daughter angle and that whole, the distance that's created with them. I think I can probably get away with saying it that way.
Yes.
There is a distance that's created between the main character and his daughter, and being a father, that sort of decision and what led to him deciding to put that distance between them just broke my heart. That you could think, yes, because I would think as the father, oh yeah, but this is what I've been working towards. I've got to go and do this. But then one tiny thing means that this massive distance is then created that can never be made back.
Yes.
You can never make that distance back.
No. And coming
how that
full
comes
circle
back.
as well, in the sense of the storyline and the narrative of the story and time, space, etc., etc. That all coming full circle. I can appreciate that. Yeah.
So it really hit me with that part. But yeah, I do love that film. I'm gonna watch back some other Nolan stuff after watching all this Dark Knight business, and I think
we'll look at doing
I'm veering on the side of saying it's my favourite, but I right here now, if I was asked to pick my favourite Nolan film, I think it would probably be Interstellar. So yeah, it is a good one. A slight change of pace, but I was watching There's Too Many Erms. There's some more Erms. I'm going to do some
I'm trying to hold those back.
I know. I've just caught myself doing it, and now I've made it worse. So I was perusing the old Flicks of Net the other night.
Flicks of Net.
The Flicks of Net, which, as usual, we'll say we are nowhere endorsed by, but is
I've been using the Amazon as of late, but we'll get to that in a future.
See why that is
a future one lately.
But yeah, I came across this time travel film called See You Yesterday, which is a Netflix original.
Yes, I've seen them.
And obviously, it stands out a little bit because of the cast, because it's a young black cast. And to be honest, when I thought about it afterwards, and I was talking to the good lady teacher her indoors about the film, I think there's one like white Caucasian role in it that is a speaking part. I can't, because everyone's either Puerto Rican or there's a Latino contingent or there's the Jamaicans because it's set in Brooklyn. So there's a lot of mixtures of black culture and different black cultures mixing together. And like I say, then with some Latino Mexican elements and Puerto Ricans and I found it really, really refreshing to watch that. And you just, it's the kind of thing that I watched and went, why isn't it more like this? It's almost like with Black Panther. You think, well, there's all this talent.
Yeah.
Why aren't these people in more major roles?
Yeah, I mean, it's we're getting a prominence of some of these individuals now. They're higher profile. We're getting better films out. Most definitely. It's one that I've seen the Flicks of Net trailer, but I haven't got round to watching.
It is really interesting because it is just a Back to the Future basically type of story. But something goes wrong on a jump back. Something goes wrong, which causes them to jump back to try and fix it. But in trying to fix it, they make it worse, and blah, blah, blah.
Classic, yeah. But
time travel at no time does it treat it flippantly or, make you see it as, as just two kids mucking about, which is what it is. But they just aren't thinking about the consequences. But there's an awesome character arc for the lead girl in it. She's amazing, and I really wish I'd written her name down now because I feel bad. But she's incredible. I've not seen her in anything before, but she's so good because she does play this. She's being a stupid kid basically, and you can't get on board with her to start with.
Yep.
And then when the thing happens that means they've got to go back in time, you really start to empathise with her, but she's still not thinking properly. So you
it's emotion, not logic. By
exactly,
that point.
And it's the old coming of age as well. A little bit. She realises she's got to grow up. She can't be this irresponsible with her actions, and with it comes back to she's got the power. But she hasn't got the responsibility to go with it.
Is this one of these ones where we can see sequels, spin-offs, and the like? I haven't watched it, so I don't know the answer to that.
I think they could do it again if they wanted something. I think you'd just be. No, I think you'd be extending a story that doesn't exist.
Okay, so it's a standalone
because it brings itself to a conclusion.
Okay, that's there, which is nice actually.
And
a bit
again,
refreshing.
It's an emotional conclusion because the conclusion they come to is not what you might be expecting.
Yeah.
And so it packs a punch, and it's really heartfelt when it happens.
Good stuff. No, because I'd watched Interstellar. Another one I'd not watched in a long time is one of my all-time faves. I absolutely love this film. It was The Martian. I was just in that. I was in that space.
I'm gonna science the shit out
I was just in that space zone at that point, and I mean, I loved it the first time I saw it. It's just
so good.
It's so good, so good.
And again, it looks incredible. I mean, I've got it. I haven't watched special features on it, and after doing all this Dark Knight stuff and watching loads of the special features on the Blu-rays, to find out how much of what they did was real and things like that, and how they accomplished some of the stuff they did in the films. I think seeing how they did some of the Martian stuff would be cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know
the bit at the end when he's shooting off the planet and stuff looks ridiculous.
Yes, I know that one point which I believe I read at one point was that obviously Matt Damon's character is stuck on the planet for so long he doesn't have any interaction with the crew, and that they isolated him from the other cast members until he gets to that point where he's on the radio with them, and that emotion that he suddenly has because he's speaking to them for the first time on the radio is all real. Now,
because it's
that again. That's a little bit, Ridley Scott. He's knocking it out of the park there. Again, throwing some great people in there. Love Jeff Bridges. Love a bit of Donald Glover as well. Love that good old Childish Gambino, and it was just fantastic. What I love about it as well is the fact that in one of my favourite series, which I've said to you 1,000 times, The Expanse, they have a little kind of throwaway, and there's a ship which is called the Mark Botany, and they kind of play off of the fact that it isn't necessarily within the same universe.
Show or in the book?
It's in the books. It hasn't, as far as I'm aware, been referenced in the TV show at this point. But again, there's that little connection.
That's cool.
Loving The Expanse as much as I do. If you haven't watched The Expanse, please go and watch that. The new series will be up in November. And
you find it on Amazon Prime. Actually.
Yes, Amazon Prime.
Netflix.
Thank God that Amazon Prime picked that up. I was so ecstatic when that happened. So again, just in that space thing, so then that took me back into, I haven't seen The Expanse for ages. So I just kind of went on a bit of a space binge for the last few weeks.
So yeah, moving on to our main discussion point of this episode, which is the Dark Knight Trilogy by Christopher Nolan.
I'm Batman.
Encompassing Batman Begins from 2005, The Dark Knight from 2008, and The Dark Knight Rises from 2012.
God, it makes me feel old.
Oh, doesn't it just, mate? Doesn't it just?
Makes me feel old.
So, for any that aren't aware of what situation we were in 2005, let me recap you a little bit.
Oh, we're going history lesson as well.
A little bit. I'm not spending huge amounts of time.
That's fine.
Just to anyone who doesn't know where it came from.
Yep.
Because there may be people listening to this who have only seen the Dark Knight Trilogy and have only heard of the ones that came before. But yeah, I mean, essentially, in TV, we had the old camp Batman of the 1960s, wasn't it? Adam West. And then, well, let's face it, on TV, the best stuff was the animated stuff.
Yeah, well, most definitely. We will talk about that in a future podcast.
So, yeah, before Mr. Nolan came to us, we'd had, in 89, I think it was Tim Burton's Batman, with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson as Joker, which I think is a great film.
Still holds up.
Yep, I think it looks really good.
In this day and age.
Then he did Batman Returns. I was going to say Dark Knight Rises. Batman Returns, which had the lovely Catwoman in. Which at that point, I actually watched it and thought, yeah, a solo Catwoman film would be alright. Yeah, it didn't turn out so well, did it?
Turn out so well.
And then, unfortunately, because merchandising, as far as I'm aware...
Schumacher era. Oh, God.
Because the first two Batman films were 15s, Warner Brothers couldn't sell enough kids' toys. So we handed the reins over to Joel Schumacher, who created what I like to call the Neon Nightmare series. Because that was very quickly what the palette changed to, from the dark, dingy Gotham.
The thing is, you look at the cast of who Two-Face was, Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic actor. Jim Carrey as the Riddler. Peak Jim Carrey, like the peak of his career.
You betcha! Soon my little box will be on countless TVs around the world, feeding me credit card numbers, bank codes, sexual fantasies, and little white lies. Into my head they'll go. Victory is inevitable. For if knowledge is power, then a god am.
And oh Jesus, let's pick Val Kilmer.
But then you put the charisma vacuum Val Kilmer in the Batsuit. Well done. Yeah, no, I you know what? I convinced myself that I like Forever, because at the time it was the first Batman film that I, saw in the cinema and got involved in.
We were young
and obviously
at that point
there were
enough
kids'
still.
toys
Yeah,
and
of course.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I do hold that fondly. I'd never defend Batman and Robin that came after it.
Good God, no. Good God, no. I don't think I could watch that more than... I think I went to the cinema, watched it, and even going out of it as a kid, I went, that was just unbelievably shit.
Awful. Like, I think about the clip that we're going to play, and I'm just not sure which horrible Arnold Schwarzenegger pun I want to go with.
Oh, of course.
And what I might actually do is what Wayne did for the Line of Duty one, where he just played Hastings, saying bent coppers loads and loads of times, which is hilarious. I might just go for all of them.
The Iceman cometh. I'm afraid that my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy. In this universe, there's only one absolute. Everything freezes. You are not sending me to the cooler. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! Can you feel it coming? The icy cold of space. After you're frozen, your icy tomb will plummet back to Gotham. Breathe well. Stay cool, bird boy.
Like a super
Try and have a super melee.
All the puns. It'll probably take about 3 hours.
Have fun, Wayne.
Most of the runtime is Arnold Schwarzenegger puns. But anyway, and we left Batman there because, the bat nipples and everything else, and I don't want to talk about the other stuff. No. But then came along Christopher Nolan, who wanted to make a gritty and grounded Batman that was more key to us. He looked back through the texts and he decided he liked Year One. And Batman Year One, the comics by Frank Miller, that wasn't it? And he liked the origin story in there and decided he wanted to make that origin story. And, you go into it, and who wanted an origin story for Batman in 2005?
No, we want flashy Batman with all of his gadgets and this, that, and the other.
We want peak Batman.
Yeah.
And so I was really... I wasn't keen going in.
No.
And the first time I saw it, I was like, well, it's better than the last one, but, I've just watched an origin film again, so now I've got to wait for the next bit.
The first time I watched it, I was like, wow. Like, honestly, wow. Really, really surprised me, because it was one of those ones that just came out of nowhere. It wasn't like we've got so many superhero films now. The fanfare before they even come out is immense. Knew Nolan beforehand, seen a few of the films, etc. Knew of Christian Bale beforehand, seen him in a few things. Obviously, Liam Neeson had been in tons of things. Knew Michael Caine. So the cast was well-rounded. Knew a good chunk of them. But this wasn't getting the fanfare right out of the park that you would have expected. Now, though, you look back at that, I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing to remember in hindsight, is that Begins was not... I mean, it was well received, but Dark Knight kicked it off.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it took to the Dark Knight for the franchise to go mainstream, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was still considered a superhero movie at the start.
No idea what their expectations were, I suppose, of Batman Begins. Whether they thought, okay, we'll make our money back, and we just want to keep the license of Batman because that's how they were running. But
absolutely. But yeah, I looked into it and, like I say, watched all the extra features and stuff, and I mean, it is great, and it's got better for me over time. The more I watch it, the more I like it, because the more I pick out of it.
Yep.
What do you call them? Setup and payoffs of, why do we form Master Bruce, and then, it coming around the end, and then, what is it always he's saying to Liam Neeson? You've never learned to mind your surroundings, and, so
Boom.
taking that
Later
from the
on.
beginning
Yep.
through to the end, and, so it's got the sort of framework and the dynamics in there. I think I knew we were in the right place, though, when you see Sergeant James Gordon.
yeah, see, I've rimmed off a half a dozen people, and then suddenly forget Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman's in
come
there as well.
on.
Let's just forget Gary Oldman. But exactly. But we're dealing with Sergeant James Gordon, and we know the character is Commissioner. And he ain't going to get from Sergeant to Commissioner in one film, and that's the beauty of it. I knew we were in the right place because we were going to carry this
Actual
on.
progression.
We were going to tell another one. We were going to see him move up the tree. We were going to see peak Batman. We were going to get there. And yeah, I went and looked at the effects and looked at things in the first podcast when we were talking about fight sequences and them being the actors and stuff. And I didn't realise, but Christian Bale did every fight sequence.
I was aware of that. I'd seen
Every
some of
one.
the special features way back
They were
when.
saying, the stunt choreographer was saying he's got a photographic memory. So he'd literally show him a sequence of 20 moves, and half an hour later, Christian Bale was basically ready to go with them. But he had to learn 16 fight sequences for the film. What? And he managed to do them all himself. And Liam Neeson did a lot of his own work as well. The monorail sequence, they were saying, was interesting to film because they had to build a monorail and do all that stuff. I didn't realise they built the Batcave. They built it on a soundstage.
That does not surprise me. I mean, you look at the thing, and it's the detail, the beauty of that was just
and when
immense.
you realise, but I think nowadays we're conditioned to not realise.
Yeah,
it's CG. Of course, it's CG.
Of course,
they're on a soundstage, and maybe there's a little bit of detail around them.
Yeah.
But background, it's just green.
Yeah.
And they'll put it on afterwards. And the tumblers. He wanted tumblers.
Again,
we've
seen how
building...
much being filmed in the UK, a good chunk of that filmed in the UK. We'd obviously seen it in the news, flying up and down motorways and stuff like that when they were shooting. So we'd seen it in the press, and I was looking, is that really going to be the Batmobile? And then suddenly it comes out in the film, and you go, actually, for this day and age, that's exactly what you need.
And that's what he wanted. He wanted the grounded, for it to look like a rugged army vehicle that had been repurposed. And so they built 3 tumblers, I think, if I remember rightly from the stuff. And when they wanted it to end up in the Batcave, obviously, so they literally shot it into the soundstage at Shepperton, I think they said it was. Shot it from an air ram through the waterfall they'd built. But then they were worried. They realised if they did that, it was going to fly out the other side of the stage. So they also had to fit it with a cable that would stop it as soon as it got through and landed. That would stop it in about 9 to 10 foot.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's incredible. Because you don't necessarily think about that. And
No,
all
the
the driving
mechanics,
sequences were genuine.
Yeah.
There's so little CG in that film, and if anything, it's panels and flaps on the Batmobile moving to make it look more dynamic.
Which is quite funny because if you think about some of the future Nolan films, your Inceptions and your Interstellars, so much CGI, so much
absolutely.
CGI, and understandable so. There is so little in this point. Even in the next 2 films, perhaps a little bit more as we kind of move through the trilogies. But it was so gritty, so grounded. But again, whether it was the budget, you look at that,
that's
and it's fair to say that they would have given him a decent budget for it, but nowhere near what they would have given in this day.
There was a lot of miniature work.
Yeah.
That he didn't want to do, because Chris Nolan, again, from watching this, he wants a practical effect if he can get a practical effect. He wants to use visual effects to enhance if he needs to, like I say, moving the flaps and panels on the Batmobile to make it look more dynamic as it's driving. But he wants the Batmobile to be real. He wants the driver to actually be driving it, and pulling in and out of cars and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I that one set the stage for me. And that was where I knew we were going to be in good hands. And then, of course, you get the lovely little tease at the end with the Joker card.
Which, again, being the comic book fans we are, we knew was coming. We knew they were going to do that.
Gordon by the end of the film. So, again, we're one step closer. We've shown that.
I'll look into
You've really started something.
I'll look into it. Oh, you better have to. Ooh, we want more. We want more.
Was, like, for me, that was the equivalent of the Avengers tease that we'd get about 3 years later at the end of Iron Man.
Yep.
Like, how good would that be?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we then moved 3 years down the road, and Begins was a success, as we say, and so they wanted another one. And this time they upped the budget.
Of course they did.
So, Mr. Nolan could go a bit more crazy. So, the stunts in this one, alright, let's forgetting the stunts for a minute. The film itself is, for me, about as perfect an example of what it is setting out to be as you can possibly find.
Yep.
I was making notes for this film, and I don't think I've written a negative aspect because I honestly cannot see them.
The only negative aspect for me, and I will admit to it.
I think I'm just in love with
this film,
that's
completely understandable. The only negative for me, and I will wholeheartedly admit it, is that I'm not against Gyllenhaal's, by the way. This is nothing. But I wasn't a huge fan of Maggie Gyllenhaal in this. I really would have preferred if Katie Holmes would have returned for this one. Now, whether I've just got a bit of a crush on Katie Holmes, that may be beside the point. But I would have liked that continuation of the kind of the better actress, because I don't think Maggie Gyllenhaal really brought it in that film. But that's just me. That's me. That's
enough.
The only kind of criticism I would say.
That makes sense to me from my perspective, because I prefer Maggie Gyllenhaal.
There we go. So everybody's going to have their different...
And to be honest, I only realised that watching them back this time. I watched Begins and was like, I want Maggie Gyllenhaal. I don't want Katie Holmes. So then when I got to Dark Knight, I was like, yay, here's the actress I really want playing Rachel.
We can't all have it.
So it is interesting. And like you said, maybe it is that. I've seen Maggie Gyllenhaal in some stuff that I like. I've never seen Katie Holmes in anything other than Dawson's Creek and Batman Begins. So I guess, my opinion of her isn't quite...
I think it's maybe just because I got a bit of a crush on Katie Holmes.
It might be. If Sarah Michelle Gellar was in the film, I'd be backing her all the way from when she was Buffy. Again, with this film, we get tons and tons of lovely foreshadowing.
Yes.
That's my favourite bit being you either die you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yep.
Love that line. Absolutely love it. And again, within the first, half an hour of the film, you're setting up. You just told us Harvey Dent's arc. That's it. And we knew that anyway.
Of course we do. We again are still the comic book fans, so we know these little things,
exactly.
And we see that. But again, they didn't necessarily just throw it straight there and just like, oh, okay, this is happening. We could have had the sequence where they're in the courtroom, and instead of pulling out a gun, he throws acid at him or something like that. There could have been that, but they didn't. They subverted that until a lot later in the film.
But they did that that was fan service.
Yeah.
Because that is, for those that don't know, in the comics, that is how Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face. He is interviewing that guy, and he throws acid on his face, and half of his face gets covered.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that the more believable aspect in that day and age, in 2005, it was more believable that he could have got a carbon fibre gun into a courtroom, and that would have been his method of choice. Whereas actually, if you did that scene now, acid would seem the more likely choice, just based on how things have gone these days and acid attacks and everything.
I never considered it as that aspect, but
because that's what they changed
totally
it, because they, fuel that they used in the end was more, they could do more with, and he just didn't think that throwing acid would be believable, I guess, in that scenario. I think the standout of it has got to be Ledger.
Yeah, of course.
Heath Ledger is just, we'd all seen him. I watched 10 Things I Hate About You the other day, and I love him in that film, but he isn't, I don't see Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight.
No.
I see the Joker.
Yeah.
And I see Heath Ledger in A Knight's Tale, and I see Heath Ledger in Brokeback Mountain.
I was just going to say, The Knight's Tale, which I think was one of the few films which was out when we started working together at the cinema. Yeah, way back when.
Eddie and him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I see Heath Ledger. And I never see Heath Ledger in the Dark.
No,
you know, the
just
licking his lips,
yeah.
the
every
tics in
mannerism,
his eyes.
every little mannerism.
I noticed
yeah.
his fingernails this time in the interrogation sequence. His fingernails are really, really long and chipped and cracking and dirty. And
we, even through interviews pre and kind of post the film, and after he passed away, I think we were all aware of the fact that he'd taken this role utterly seriously. That
he went a bit method with it, as far as I understand,
just to say the least. The bit that completely, I mean, you get it right from the start. He goes in there, obviously he's killing off half of his crew as the beginning sequence goes. But it's that one bit where he walks in and sticks the pencil down and goes, "I'm going to make this pencil disappear." And
how about a magic trick? I'm going to make this pencil disappear. It's gone.
Slams the guy's head on it.
Absolutely.
And just does it so straight-faced and just like, ta-da. And I was like, you've sold me on that one.
Again, I was watching it with the good lady teacher her indoors, and she flinched at that moment. And you see nothing. You see nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
You see a man's head hit a desk, and then he falls over. That's all you see. But again, his reaction, ta-da! Just so good. And another point I've got here actually is about the violence in the film, because it is a 12 and it's a tough 12, I would say. But they get away with it because they don't choreograph it and they don't point out what's happening. It took me quite a few times to realise that when he burns the money on the boat, the Lao is tied up on top of the pile of money, and they don't make any reference to it. It's just as you go into that sequence, it pans down from the top, so you see Lao, you see the pile of money, but then the whole rest of the sequence is shot without you being able to see the top, so you know that's happening, but they're not showing it. So it makes it worse almost, because you're left to your own imagination,
as is often the case. When you've
happen.
got to use your imagination to figure out, sometimes you go, what could be the worst case scenario in this? They're going to blow up a load of hospitals. Okay, did they actually manage to get everybody out of the hospitals? We don't know. We assume they did.
The aggressive expansion where he wants to take on new crew from Gamble. And he snaps a pool cue in half and just chucks it on the floor to the three blokes. He's like, we haven't got long. Again, doesn't show anything, but you know what's happening. And the same when he cuts Gamble, you don't see it. There's the big Hans Zimmer, wah! And it cuts from behind, and you just don't see what's happened. He just falls to the floor. So it's left to your brain to imagine how bad that looked, or how what happened to it. I was amazed by some of the stunts in this as well, and I don't think nowadays you would do it. The chase sequence with the tumbler in this one, the ridiculously long one with the 16-wheeler and the rocket launcher and all that stuff. Most of it, none of it was CG, again, other than to tidy things up. There's one sequence that is miniature, which is where the tumbler runs into the garbage truck and pushes it up into the roof and along, and that's purely because they were shooting in Chicago and they couldn't smash a truck into the roof of an actual road.
Makes sense.
So, Chicago draws the line somewhere. Fair enough. They let them punt a SWAT van into the sea. Or
SWAT vans to spare, it's fine.
So, but again, all of that was done. The stunt driver was told by one of the chase cars that was filming the action that they were doing 88 to 90 to keep up with him. Miles an hour, not kilometers an hour, by the way, guys. That was in the guy was in the tumbler doing nearly 100 miles an hour.
I mean, that is a hefty vehicle.
2.5 tons. 2.5 tons.
Oh, that's a big boy.
500 kilos of that, so half a ton of that was back axle and the wheels, because they were basically from a tractor. But incredible piece of kit. Like I say, all genuinely done. Everyone wanted Nolan to CG flipping the 16-wheeler,
which is just a beautiful, beautiful shot.
It's an amazing sequence.
Beautiful. Again, going to the fact that a lot of scenes as well, you suddenly, when you're watching it and you suddenly get the IMAX view, the full, the full view, which again didn't have the budget for it previously. He obviously starts to incorporate that more and more into his films. And
they did have a little bit of IMAX on Begins.
Had they?
Only a little bit, though, because there physically weren't the cameras at the time. At the time of shooting Dark Knight, there were 4 IMAX cameras. They broke one during the shooting of that chase sequence. They had one in front of the 16-wheeler when it first turns in. They had it chasing it there. and then another car was sweeping in from the side, and it hit the 16-wheeler hits the car and moves it, and as it spun out of the way, it crushed one of 4 IMAX cameras in existence. So then they only had 3 left.
I think one of the...
They mounted one to the front of a motorbike because they wanted, the sequence where the Batpod is going to the battle.
Yeah.
And it's going through like a mall
Just
or
about
something.
to bring up the
It's
Batpod,
going
actually. I was going to
through.
say the one thing that I really loved about that was the fact that we saw that, okay, we lose the Batmobile, but we get the Batpod.
Yeah, exactly.
That was absolutely fantastic. Just turning that and then flipping down.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Absolutely
great.
beautiful. Because, again, it's just a beautiful, slick, smooth-looking machine. Mm-hmm. And again...
And it's believable
exactly,
within the world.
Exactly, precisely.
And again, listening to the stuff, Nolan wanted that.
Yeah.
He was like, well, if we're going to have the Batpod, these front 2 wheels have to be the wheels.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to figure out a way to get it out off those 2 front wheels, and then we bin the rest. And yeah, that's where it came from. There was a French bloke they brought in to ride it, because you didn't sit on it, you lay across it, and had to use your weight to move it side to side.
Well, I mean, I think we see that a little bit more when we see Anne Hathaway kind of riding it a little bit more in the next one. Oh, have they?
They rebuilt it and made the chassis out of aluminium instead.
Okay.
So that it was a bit lighter,
so
that she could do it. But I mean, she never drove it in the sequences.
Mm-hmm.
It was a female stunt lady.
Okay.
Again, I can't remember her name. I can't remember any of the stunt people's names, to be honest. They were all incredible, and I really should have written them down. But so they did make changes for that. But that 16-wheeler bit, in the middle of Chicago, they were allowed to fire a gas ram out the bottom of a 16-wheeler and flip it fully on its head.
It's a beautiful, beautiful shot. It just bush.
And again, there's a bit in that sequence that tells you about Nolan's methodology as well. Do you know the bit where the helicopter comes in?
Yeah.
Well, he knew he couldn't crash a helicopter. Practical effect. So they have the helicopter fly in, fly down, so the opening shots are real helicopter. When it hits the wire, and as it's collapsing and coming to the ground, it's CG. But he then got them to get a wreck of a helicopter,
Just dump it there.
set it on fire, and drag it down the road towards the truck.
Yeah.
So when the truck smashes into the wreckage of the helicopter, that was genuine. Because his methodology was, if the lead-in and the exit from the sequence are practical effect, even though your brain will get distracted very slightly by the visual effect, you should get brought back into it again for the end sequence, because the sting in it is genuine practical effect. And, I think that works really well for it.
Yeah. I think one of the... touch on the science of the film a little bit in terms of the mobile device, the sonar that they use.
Oh, yeah.
The only reason I'm going to kind of mention that is because you laugh, but the realistic applications of that kind of technology in this day and age is actually quite astounding, and that we probably could have that technology if we actually thought about it. For all we know, it's out there. But again, that was one of those kind of plot points, as you said before, set up and payoff. We had that a little bit before.
Yep, with the trip to Hong Kong.
Precisely, and then later on, that suddenly becomes an integral part of the plot. So again, that was another little point that, again, he just introduces things. I think going back to Batman Begins just very briefly, they kind of mentioned, it was kind of a throwaway thing, very much at the start of the film, that they'd lost one of their prototypes, which turns out
the microwave
to be the... Yeah, exactly. And those little plot points where you just kind of... Sometimes you just dismiss that and think, oh, that's just part of the... that's nothing. No, it all means something. And that's something that Nolan brings to the table. Everything means something.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I think you can probably say that. He wrote the screenplays for all 3. Co-wrote the screenplays for all 3. Begins was co-written by David Goyer, and the other 2 were co-written by Jonathan Nolan, his brother. So yeah, I think that shows through. So after this one, we sort of went into a lull, didn't we?
Well,
because Nolan wasn't really very keen to come and do another.
No, I think,
as far as we're aware, that's what the stories were at the time.
I think also the impact, genuinely the impact of Heath Ledger's death probably weighed heavily on him.
I would have thought so, yes.
Massively.
I would have thought he probably blamed himself, even though he shouldn't, because he was in charge of that character, and, he'll be feeling like he should have spotted signs or whatever.
Again, it may have been a case that he'd had a third film planned with the Joker being a part of that, and that, you got to throw that out the window at this point.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember making jokes with you and another one of our friends about, we would joke, how long is it before Warner Brothers just backs that truck of money up to his front lawn and dumps it?
Yes.
So that he'll come back for another one. And obviously he went off and made Inception in 2010, in the middle. And then he did come back, and he did Dark Knight Rises to finish the trilogy. Now, this is the one I'd seen the least, I think, and I don't remember it fondly. And so I went back and I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to give it a chance, and I'm going to see what I can do. And unfortunately, I started writing notes, and a lot of them are negative.
I feared that you might have said that.
Through doing this, I've worked out why. I mean, take the opening of Dark Knight Rises. That's one of the most incredible opening sequences
Very much so.
I've seen ever, probably. Yeah. And again, the effects in that are ridiculous, and I shall go into them in a bit. But you open really well, and you've got bloody Bane and Tom Hardy, and he's being cool and Bane, without loads of pipes and stuff. Was a little bit, but not over his shoulders and stuff.
Yeah, the whole
like
Venom
Bane.
thing has obviously gone by for that.
And I like that. You just no, I just want you to be a big bulky bloke. But yeah, as you go through it, it is. There is a lot in there.
For those of you who can't see, he literally has
I have literally got pages and pages of notes.
5 pages of notes.
I'm really sorry.
5 A4 pages of notes here.
And some of them are bad, but like the stock exchange sequence, right? They come out of the stock exchange on motorbikes. Where did the motorbikes come from? They don't enter the stock exchange on motorbikes. They're people, they're cleaners, they're stuff. Maybe you could say Tom Hardy's character does, because he comes in as a delivery driver, but his motorbike is not outside the stock exchange, and he hasn't driven it through the front door. So where did they find motorbikes to escape from in the stock exchange? And it's things like that bother me with this one, and that's what I was trying to get to the bottom of, is why Nolan isn't like this. My whole problem with the film from the start is it's been 8 years since The Dark Knight. Bruce Wayne retired as Batman at the end of The Dark Knight. How is he so messed up? He's hobbling around. He can't do anything. He goes to see the doctor and he's got no cartilage and this and that and the other. Now, that's fine if that was the case at the end of The Dark Knight, but it didn't seem to be. Yeah, he'd fallen out the window or whatever.
He'd had a few scrapes and cuts and blah, blah, blah.
He's taken worse hits during the course of the film. So why was he so beaten up? That's what... It's straight away you've made me go, well, he didn't do it. Like, if he'd been crime fighting for 8 years, of course he's going to be that beaten up. I'd buy it. But your story is that he didn't. That
was the thing. His beat-up state was more mental than it was physical.
Yes.
Is the implication, I suppose, that we were trying to take away from that. Yes, he looked physically frail. He had his beard and blah, 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 blah. There's nothing wrong with beards. I'm sporting a beard myself. No. But... yeah, you look at him and think, okay, you're a bit more frail, you're a bit more fragile than you were, because you've had your heart broken, because you've lost somebody you care about, because you are being looked at as the villain, you don't want anything to do with the world anymore. So you see all of these things, but yeah, no, I completely agree. The plot there.
I just wonder whether they struggled this time. And from watching the extra stuff, it doesn't seem like Nolan has any less passion for it. But it feels to me like they couldn't quite get what they wanted, or they couldn't quite decide what they wanted to do with it. And again, my biggest problem with it is the pacing and the timing.
No, the pacing is pretty bad in the film.
So the film goes
an
hour and 36 minutes out of a 2 hour 30 runtime, something like that.
Something like that.
We go an hour and 36 minutes, and we've covered a couple of months, maybe. And that leads us up to the stadium sequence where Bane takes over Gotham, essentially, right? So that's an hour and 36 minutes into the film. We are told at that stadium sequence that when Bane takes the bomb, they say it's going to decay in 5 months, go off in 5 months, and he says, yes, it will be exactly 5 months. So we've got 5 months at that point till the end of the film, you would assume, because it's a ticking bomb. So that's going to be the end of the film. So we've gone an hour and 36 minutes for about 2 months, not really covering a huge amount of story, because it's just Bruce Wayne pootling about. Because remember, at this point, he's just been beaten by Bane and sort of taken down to the pit, but hasn't even had his back straightened at this stage. So we got an hour left, and we're going to cover 5 months.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's really bad. And I wrote that in my notes. However, it's worse.
Yeah.
Because what then happens is 7 minutes after that, and I have been this ridiculous, I'm sorry, guys. You'll learn I'm a freaking pedant. But in 7 minutes, we've had the cops in the sewers for 3 months.
Yeah.
So 7 minutes later, we've covered a further 3 months.
Yeah,
What's happened? Then, because it gets worse still. 45 minutes from the end of the film. So we've covered 16 minutes since the stadium sequence.
Yeah.
There's 18 hours left till the bomb goes off.
Yeah.
16 minutes!
Yeah.
We've covered 4 months, 29 days, and most hours.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No. It also felt for me, again, as you say, the pacing side of it, this was not much of a Batman film. He was very, very
Batman's
much...
not in it very much.
Very, very little. Even Christian Bale is not in it all that much. If you look at it, the supporting cast, I'm surprised you haven't gone through the detail of counting how many minutes he's in it in comparison to everybody else.
Oh, you know what? There is a list. And it is the one that he's in it the least.
Yeah, and it does not surprise me. Because, again, I don't know whether he just lacked the passion. There was just no spark there. There was just no...
I think I can kind of see why they had the problem. Because if you're going to use Bane... you're going to do Nightfall, which for the uninitiated, the Nightfall is the comic series, or the comic storyline that introduced Bane, and Bane broke the bat. Now, in the comic books, of course, what they do is they've already set up someone to take over in secondary stories leading up to the event. So when he's gone, and while he's recuperating, we get someone else trying to fill his shoes, and we watch their adventures to keep the pace going, so that we're not just spending the next 6 months worth of issues watching Batman recuperate in the Batcave. Because that's boring as hell.
That's boring as shit.
So... And obviously Nolan didn't want to do that, so he's just condensed everything down to about 16 minutes because he didn't know what else to do.
The thing is, I mean, I still worry about the medical mechanics of how they, lean on a bit of rope to fix your back. Sorry, I occasionally have a bit of a back twinge, but I wouldn't put myself on a rope to fix a backache. You know what I mean?
No.
And then suddenly he's doing
punch him in the back
sit-ups
to supposedly straighten it, and then hangs him up and goes, just stay there till you can stand.
And then he's doing like sit-ups like nobody's business. I'm sorry, but if your back is that messed up, you can't do sit-ups. You just can't do it. So I've
got a lot of negatives now. Now, what I will say is I did think, you know what, there's got to be more here, and I also hate the fact there's a twist at the end, because none of the others have had a twist.
Well, you say there's a twist, but when I went into the film,
think it's choreographed.
I knew straight away. Seeing that person, I was like, well, I'm going to guess who you are.
I don't think that... Because it's never choreographed. She is always not with Bane until that final sequence. Because I kept thinking to myself, I wonder if there's hints, and, she makes a decision that would go... She doesn't seem to. She seems to play what she's playing. And I don't understand why she ends up in the... Bruce Wayne's house, and they have a love sequence. I don't know. I don't really understand.
There's a lot of
shoehorn
stuff in there.
But I mean, there is good stuff. There really is. I mean, let's face it. Tom Hardy's incredible.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy's incredible in it. I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Yeah,
and if they had ever have done another one, him taking over the reins. Bang on.
Gary Oldman continues his trend as well.
Exactly. Gary Oldman's great, and obviously I forgot to mention in the Dark Knight bit that we do get our Commissioner Gordon by the Dark Knight. So then we complete that arc as well, which is another reason why that one stands out, because it is lots of payoff for things that have been set up. Like I say, there is good stuff in here. I've got a note here that says, "Holy shit, Teal'c."
Yes.
You realise Teal'c was it?
Yes,
Plays
it's
a random
Teal'c,
guard.
yes.
Teal'c from Stargate SG-1, for anyone who doesn't know.
For those uninitiated.
We may end up talking about that one day.
Yeah, well, maybe perhaps one day,
I'll just finish by giving some positives about this, and I think the positives, like you say, is in the acting, is to be found in the acting, and is to be found in the effects work and the way it looks.
As you say, that opening sequence, that plane sequence right at the start was Jesus.
Hardly any of that was CG. It's ridiculous. It's the way they mixed it together. So they genuinely flew a big plane above a little plane and launched 4 men out of the top of it, and they hung onto the sides of the little plane and, broke into the plane and stuff like that. when the plane then gets hooked onto the bigger plane, the small jump, like a little jump jet, gets hooked on, that's miniatures. Because he didn't want that to be CG. Because as the wings break off in the wind, it looks genuine. Because it's actually a miniature made properly, a 1/3 scale miniature, in that kind of wind, having its wings broken off by the buffeting. And then the visual effect is to meld one into the other. Then, when the plane is broken and is just dangling down and they're all inside it, they built a rig that would tip up on its end so that they could shoot all that and get all the actors inside it. But they also fixed it to a heavy lift crane, a heavy lift helicopter, and flew it along to shoot sequences inside it while it was happening. And the men coming down in the top and getting everyone out, because he wanted it to be moving while it was going.
And it comes across as that completely.
It's incredible.
It is one of the best opening sequences of any of the three films, most definitely. There is just something quite special about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, like you say, the intricate detail that they've gone to shows in spades.
Absolutely. I think the Bane's Lair, for example, was built. Again, constructed a 4-story thing that they constructed at Cardington, which looks great. Again, the fight there was Tom Hardy and Christian Bale, and I love it. You know, Christian Bale, I don't know. My opinion of him fluctuates because I think since he's been shown to be a bit of a dick sometimes.
Yes, yeah, I think since
since
that leaked
portrayed as a little bit of a dick. Exactly, it's the Terminator thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so, but like he's Batman. So he's got a bat suit on, and he's got a mask covering half his face. I just think any other actor on the planet would be like, I'll be in my trailer, lads. You tell me when you finished it.
Yeah, I see what you say, yeah.
Because you don't even need him for a bloody close-up, you know? You just find someone with a lower jaw similar, and he doesn't even need to be seen on set, but he wanted to do it. Because his exact words are that you can then zoom in and you can see it's me.
I mean, you've seen
and it's not somebody else.
Seen him in various roles where he's lost an absolute shit ton of weight, or he's had to gain a shit ton of weight. So he is somebody that takes on this role seriously. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I think he was perhaps burned out of playing Batman by that point. I think he was just like, I'll do it. I need to get this done. But the passion is certainly lost.
I think I'd agree. It's certainly noticeable that he seems to be in a lot less of the extra features on the Blu-ray. There's not as much from Christian Bale in the Dark Knight Rises stuff as there is in the earlier two. So that could be why, to be fair. Finally, the stadium sequence. That massive stadium sequence. Now, obviously, when the stadium drops away, that's CG from above. But the crowd is real. They got 10,000 people, nearly 11,000, I think they said, because it was in Philadelphia. And they spaced them out around the whole arena in dribs and drabs. So there was always some real people. Then they filmed a load of them in batches of 4 against green screen and dropped them in digitally. So even though, yes, it's a visual effect, it's real people. It's not CG people who are reacting to stuff. It's real people just copy and pasted. But even then, when the guy's running along with the ball and the stuff's collapsing behind him, that was part visual effect, part special effect, because they actually built a raised platform on the football field, so as the guys were running along, they could fall into a hole that took them out of vision, and then they just relayed sort of a digital field over the top of it, but the guys then appear to fall into nothingness because they were falling into a physical pit that was on the pitch. But yeah, I think it's a shame, would be my sum up. I think The Dark Knight Rises wasn't what it could have been.
No.
And part of me wonders whether it should never have been.
This is the thing.
I'm not sure.
I think you're always going to have
There's
have
a great
that
bit
question.
where when he's going down the tunnel and bad guys are shooting at Batman. And it's all strobed because of the bullet fire. And he's just 1 minute he's right, then left, and he's getting closer all the time, and then it's just his face right in the camera. And it just reminds me of like a comic books, panel sequence. And some of that sort of stuff is excellent.
I mean,
you are paying tribute. You're taking that visual style.
Yeah, if anything,
from the
it
comic
was
books.
that point perhaps where if they'd have broken the bat, as you'd said, and actually had Robin or Nightwing or somebody set up in the wings, no pun intended, to kind of fill that void. That may have been a saving grace. But I think by the end of the film, I was just like, you know what, Batman's gone, and this chapter is closed. We've closed the Batman trilogy of Nolan now. Let's just move on from it. And I was fine with that. Like you say, I don't know whether it bookended it as perhaps well as the problem is that after the previous film and the fanfare that was around it, the absolute acting skills that were thrown at that, it just missed that little special quality, I think. So that it was always going to suffer. It was whatever happened, it was always going to suffer. We will never know whether there could have been a third film which would have included Heath Ledger's Joker and other characters. We'll never know that.
No, you're quite right.
But we've got at the same time still a better Batman film than the Schumachers.
Oh yeah.
So that's how you got to
That's
look
it.
at
At least we could look at oh no, we can't look back at the last incarnation of Batman being good, can we?
No, we've now got Robert
I suppose
Pattinson.
we've got to, well, and we have to count Affleck in that, don't we?
Oh
He was
God!
Batman.
I'm not going there.
Didn't get his own solo
I'm not
film,
going
but he was
there. I'm not going there.
No, I don't think we should. Well, I think after that, ladies and gentlemen, we should call it for today. So, thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you.
Wherever you may be listening, we should be available on Spotify and YouTube and Mixcloud. And as of this episode, we also have an email address that you can contact us at, should you wish to hurl abuse at us, or even better, ask some questions.
The questions would be better than the abuse.
Yeah, exactly. The abuse I'll send to Fluffy.
Well, thanks.
I'll take the questions.
Cheers.
But the address is screenmasters@bitebackmedia.co.uk. So that's screenmasters@bitebackmedia.co.uk, and the bite is spelled like a computer bite, not a food bite. So BYTE. And yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to say.
Well,
Shall we
you've
sign off?
spoken a great deal. You've spoken
I have.
a great deal. I'm surprised you're not out of breath.
I'm looking forward to recording the second episode and being a bit more of the background. Thank you very much, guys. We will catch you on the next one, where we shall be discussing upcoming comic book TV shows. I have been Bav.
I have been Fluff.
And this has been ScreenMasters.